You are listening to the Oracle of Light. I am your host, Shauna DeMellon, and I am so excited today. I have Brittany and Keri with me. They are a mother-daughter duo. I was just telling them, I went down the rabbit hole on Instagram again, and I found the beautiful work that they do. Griefbox is what they have put together to share with the world. And so today's conversation is going to be all about their journey, how everything started. And I'm just so excited to share with everyone who is listening. So thank you. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Fabulous. Okay, so we will start right at the beginning. Share with us how Griefbox came to be. What is the story? What would you like to share with us?
Okay. So last year, May 1st, 2022, around 10 p.m., my husband received a call from the coroner's office in Salinas, California, that Jacob had been in a motorcycle accident and died. That started our grief journey that evening. And so immediately we were reaching out to family and friends saying that Jacob had died and that we were heartbroken because we just didn't know what to do. And we were just looking for help. It's like, what do you do now? So we found that friends had a similar thing to say amongst most of them, which was, "Oh, Keri, I'm so sorry, but I don't know what to say." And my daughter had that same situation, those same words. And then we started getting cards, beautiful cards, and care packages of chocolates and nuts and flowers, which were all so wonderful. We knew that people were thinking of us.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to us. And then a few months after we were going through this grief journey, Brittany and I started talking, and we asked each other, what's been helpful and what hasn't, and what is it that would have been nice to have had at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where Griefbox began.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. And how old was Jacob?
22 years old. So he was in college, living away from home and becoming a man.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful. And I wanted to ask you, I wanted to ask you to share the story behind the logo as well. I love that.
Do you want to do that one, Brittany?
Yeah, sure. So my brother, Jacob, was hugely into surfing. I mean, on a good day, you would find him in the water at sunrise and sunset, catching the best sets of the day. And he also loved to design his own surfboards. So he would totally strip them of their paint and create his own designs on them. And when he passed away, we knew that we would want to honor him by doing something in the water. So we held a celebration of life paddle out where everyone got on their surfboards and paddled out. We all got in a big circle and talked about Jacob and memorialized him. And we placed his surfboard at the very center of the circle. We put a wreath on it to symbolize that he was with us there. And so our logo is his surfboard with the wreath on it. And my mom, you can talk a little bit about the waves of grief themes and the colors.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we know that colors are very impactful. And so when we're thinking about grief, it's not very colorful.
Mm-mm.
When Jacob first died, I would look out at the flowers and wonder, why are they so colorful when I feel so gloomy?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have the waves and our logo are different shades of blue and gray because that's how you feel when you're grieving. And then we have the sunset colors that brightens up the logo, and the wreath has the bluer flowers at the bottom, and then it brightens up with the sunset colors at the top, so that there is hope and that you can get through this grief with others, with friends, with love. So
I love that. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. It's just, yeah, it's like people often say to me, it's just like everything looks gray and bland and there's no hope. It's just, I love that. I love how you've incorporated all of that into the logo and into the business. And it's like you've interwoven his essence into everything. And I think that that's just so beautiful. And you touched on this. People don't know what to do. I mean, after I've lost loved ones, it's nice, right? Like there's chocolates, or someone baked a cake, or there's a card, and it's nice that people think of someone and they want to do something. So what were some of your favorite things? Like what were some of the things that you were like, oh, I love this, or I really love that, or that made a difference? Could you share what some of those were?
like to start, Brittany?
Sure. So, I, like my mom said, we received a lot of, cards with more generic messages, like, I'm so sorry for your loss. We got some flowers, some gift baskets. But what was really most impactful was a box of frozen burritos. It was sent by a woman who had experienced grief herself, and she knew that when you're grieving, it is so hard to cook for yourself. So that box of frozen burritos sustained my family for a good, I don't know, maybe week or more. It was really life-saving. So that was a gift from someone who really, got it.
Yep. I love
Yeah.
that. Burritos. I love that. It's so true. It's so true. It's like the last thing on your mind is, oh, what are we having for dinner? It's like, you don't care. It's like, I just want to get through the day. I want to,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. I love that. That's fabulous. Yeah.
And with the family, you didn't feel like eating at the same time. So the frozen burritos allowed my husband to go make one of his choice at the time that he felt hungry. And yeah, so it was
I
a very
love
nice,
that.
thoughtful gift.
And I always, with the work that I do, I call it, I refer to it, as our spiritual toolbox. And then I also have a grief box, a grief toolbox. And that's going to go in the grief toolbox for sure, because it's just like, oh my gosh, there was a client that said, I think it was like a year ago, when her father-in-law had died, or mom didn't want to cook, nobody wanted to cook, and so I think she ordered like skip the dishes for them for like a month or something, so every day they could pick something that they wanted to eat, and it just taking that off, that's perfect. And that, how amazing is that, right? Like, you're right, nobody wants to eat at the same time. So yeah, I'm gonna have a burrito for lunch, and I want to have one later at 4 and maybe at 8, and you just kind of do your thing. That is brilliant. I like that. And so with the grief box, so you have, do you have like standard grief boxes, or people, so do they pick and choose, or you do custom grief boxes? So what does that whole process look like? I'd love for you to share that with us.
Yeah. So my mom and I decided to create care packages that actually had meaningful items. When we were receiving cards and care packages, we could really tell if the sender understood grief or really didn't understand grief based on, what they sent and what they said. And so for the people who don't know what to do or say, we wanted to create a pretty standard care package that they could send their grieving loved one, so their grieving loved one would feel really cared about and understood and seen. So right now we have 2 standard care packages, one for adults and actually one for kids, that was designed by my 11-year-old brother.
Aww.
Mm-hmm. Mom, you can go into it a little bit more.
Okay. So for the adults, we have parts in the grief box that honor the deceased loved one, and that creates treasures for you regarding your loved one. And then we also have things in there that help support the health of the griever. So we're actually tackling that first month or two when the person just doesn't really know what to do or how to even think about a memorial service, or yeah, what kinds of things were helpful for us. And we had put in our Griefbox share a memory cards. So we have 10 of those in the box. And that allows you to reach out to your friends and family, and they can write down a favorite memory or two, fill up the card with as many memories that the griever can keep. And actually becomes a treasure as you need to look back at those cards later in life. And we have a picture frame where you put your picture of your loved one, of course, and a candle that is the same color wood as the picture frame. And we chose wood for our candle instead of glass because the wood is warmer to the touch. And Jacob loved the outdoors, so the natural wood just was perfect for that. And a mini dried floral bouquet just adds a beautiful touch to that whole picture frame candle and bouquet that you can put anywhere in your home. And it's a little set. And then we have for the recipient calming tea, because sleeping is a very difficult thing to come across. And a hot and cold gel pack that if you're crying a lot, you can put that on your eyes, or if you have some tense muscles, you can use it. And it is colored blue like the ocean. So we kept that blue theme. And then little tissue packs for those tears that can come up at any time. And we have one item, that the Waves of Grief journal that we bought the rights to this watercolor that we loved, and that's on our journal, so that you understand that what you're going to go through are different heights of waves and different depths of waves. And yeah, it just brings back the ocean theme into our story.
I love that. You know, I love all of it. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I think that it was interesting how you said, you know, people, you would gauge what they sent, and then what they sent and what they said. So I would love to touch on that a little bit too. I think that, yeah, so it's you could, I imagine, feel, you know, if somebody really knew him, or they really got what you know. So could you share some of the things that were sent versus some of the things that were said? And then we'll come back. I want to delve a little bit more into the box itself. I think that that's just, it has a life of its own. Oh my goodness. But yeah, with what was sent and what was said, like what did that look like?
Yeah, so I think, you know, there's always the very generic thinking of you, sorry for your loss, oh, I can't imagine what you're going through. And then there's those are kind of the people that haven't really lived through grief. They don't really understand it, right? Western culture is so grief phobic that we don't talk about death or prepare for death. And people are just so uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. And you just get, yeah, those generic responses over and over again. The people, I think, who really get it, they share memories of Jacob, and they share, you know, that their hearts are with us and that they know this will be hard, but they want to be there for us every step of the way. We mentioned that we got the box of frozen burritos, which was like, yes, you get it. We need this. But we also got things like chocolate covered nuts, which, you know, it's nice to have chocolate covered nuts, but when you're grieving, you don't feel like eating, and especially not something with not that much substance, right? Or we got maybe bubble bath items, which is also great, but like I didn't bathe for like 3 months after my brother died. So it's, you know, kind of hit and miss. You can tell who really is there and supporting you with something meaningful, and who is just kind of browsing the internet to try to send you something to, you know, show they care.
That's a really good point. You're right. I mean, unless you've gone through, you know, unless you've lost a loved one, you really have no idea what that would feel like. And so, buying someone chocolate, here, I want to give you something, here's something, as opposed to, you're not going to want to cook, so here are burritos, enjoy. Like, it just takes it to a whole other level. And so I love that. I love that. With the Griefbox, I love the share the memory. I mean, I think that is just so beautiful for even the person writing, and sharing the memory is just a way for them to connect, with Jacob, with that loved one, and just connect and remember. And I imagine that would be soothing for their grief as well. It's just, okay, yeah. And it's just, I think that is just so beautiful, and they're all beautiful things that you can keep. And I love that. It's just, you mentioned that it's like a care package. That encapsulates exactly what it is. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. And you mentioned the types of waves and the depths of the waves of grief. Wow. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Mom, you take that one.
Hey. So, the reason that we grieve is because we loved. So when you have loved somebody deeply, you will have big waves of grief. You'll be talking highly about your loved one and just excited about having spent life with them. And then you'll go real down deep into the depths, because your moods, your emotions, your love is tied to your grief. So we don't look at grief as a bad thing. Grief is a good thing because it means that you loved.
Yeah.
So when you during your life, you'll have different things that will trigger you, with, like, you had a day where you went on a picnic with this person, and they bought 7-Up. You never drank 7-Up before, but you tried it for the first time and loved it. Okay, so you see 7-Up in the grocery store and you just bawl, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't know when these waves of grief are going to happen, but the triggers will happen. And the thing that I love about comparing the ocean with your grief is that you just need to go through the waves. You need to allow these waves to come. But like a surfer, you need to be prepared. You need to have a plan of how to get through the waves. So like a surfer, if they see a big wave coming, they'll dive down to go through the wave so that the wave doesn't come crash on them if it's not at the right time. Or they'll take that wave and ride it, right? Depending on where you're at. So Absolutely. It is important to take your journal, your Waves of Grief journal, or whatever journal, and write down, okay, if I'm at the grocery store and this happens, what do I do? And then you say, okay, I'm going to put my cart aside and I'm going to tell somebody and just go step outside for a little bit. Or what do you do? Just have a plan. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. I love that. I often tell people, I call them waves of grief. They're like pockets of grief or waves of grief. And you just have to ride that wave, and eventually they'll start to simmer down again. And I love that. I joke with people, after I lost my son, that I didn't wear mascara for 2 years because I never knew. I was like, I'm just not going to wear mascara, because I would hear a song, or I would walk by a playground and see a little boy, or there would be something. And it was just like, the craziest things would set it off. And so, yeah, I love that it's sort of, you're helping people, to help them understand, this may happen, and, to kind of have an idea as to, all right, well, what can I do with that? What does that look like? And, it's interesting. I remember when my grandmother died and everyone was like, okay, we're going to go back to the house now and we're going to go have snacks and go do this and go do that. And I said, I'm not going. And my parents were like, yes, you're going. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I don't know. This is not a happy day and I don't want to have snacks. And I don't, I was a total Grinch with it. And it was just like, okay, interesting. So it's interesting to see, to have an awareness of what's coming up and how to handle that. I mean, as a child, you're not really sure what you're doing with it and what that's going to look like. But I just love that with those different waves and the different depth of it. And it's so true. It's, I always tell people, when there is deep, deep sorrow, there's love. There is love as big as the ocean, is what I always say. And it's honoring that process. And, it's almost like I give people permission. I say to them, give the grief the dignity that it needs. It just let it flow through you. You can't just put it on a back burner. You can't just write it away or put it in a box or, okay, I'm over it now. It's good. And we move on. It's going to keep knocking at the door until you have fully gone through it. And there's no timeline on that. There's absolutely no timeline. I love everything that you have in the box. I love that. I think that it's just so beautiful. And it's just, everything that you've chosen was just so intentional. And this is how we want people to feel. And I love that. Like even, with the wood, connecting the wood element in and with Jacob, I just think that that's just so beautiful and so thoughtful. And now that's the adult version. And now you mentioned there's a version for children. Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the same person that sent the frozen burritos also sent my son a glow-in-the-dark star blanket. And Isaac, my youngest, he and I had been outside in the evening and just looking up at the stars and talking about life and death and Jacob. And a few days later, he received this blanket and he was just in tears, and he put it around himself for 3 full days. It did not leave his side. So he just felt like, we were just talking about the magnificent universe, and he had it around him now. So we have a glow-in-the-dark star blanket in the children's box, and we have a light up star. So it's a pillow or stuffed animal, a star pillow that they can hold and use as a night light. My grandson uses it as a night light. And then we have a Poppet journal. So they have a journal which they can draw in or write whatever they would like. But the cover is a Poppet, so they can play with it as well. So this was designed by he was 10 at the time that Jacob died. So
that's what is his name? Your other son?
Isaac.
Isaac. Aw.
I'm actually hoping to pop in and say hi to you for a sec if he can.
Well,
love that. Yes.
He's playing with his tech decks right now.
You can call him over.
Anytime. Yeah. If he wants to come in and say hi, absolutely.
Okay. I'll go grab him.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I love that. And again, the blanket, they can wrap themselves, wrap that around them. The pillow, they can hold it. It can be a nightlight. It's just so much comfort. And then, the journal with the Poppet to play, and then they can draw pictures and they can write. And it just, I think that that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Oh, it's nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Oh my goodness. Your mom was just sharing the Griefbox that you put together for little people. I think that that's amazing. Oh my goodness. I think that is just so, it's so special. And I mean, children, right? I mean, it's very difficult when you lose a loved one. And would you share a little bit about your process putting the box together?
Well, I was the one who came up with the star blanket.
Love that. I love that.
Because I got it as a gift.
Yep.
And Brittany came up with the poppet journal, which we have so that you can write down any emotions that you are having,
Mhm. Nice.
which
Nice.
sometimes doesn't work for kids like me.
Oh, and why is that?
Because I have to spell and write.
Okay, there's that element. Okay. Okay.
So you can draw pictures.
We could draw pictures. Yeah, we could draw pictures. I think it's nice. It's a nice way to just get out whatever we're feeling. And I love that. I love the blanket. I think the blanket is just so comforting. And I imagine that you would just feel so safe and you're just wrapped with the universe. I think that that's just amazing. I love that. And then there was the pillow as well. There's a pillow,
Yeah.
there, isn't there?
I love the pillow.
Yep. I love that. I think that any child that received that box would just feel very special. And
So there's a rainbow tie-dye pillow and then there's a normal white pillow. Which one would you prefer?
I probably the rainbow. I think the rainbow
Same here.
definitely. Yep. Yep. I'm feeling the rainbow. I think that that's just so nice. And it's, Brittany, as you were mentioning earlier, I mean, it's like there's a grief, it's like a grief phobic. It's like people just don't want to talk about grief and they don't want to talk about, it's like they don't want to talk about loss in general. And then it's like you're just supposed to go away and, just figure your stuff out, sort your stuff out and get back to life as usual. And so I love this because this really helps people to feel seen. It helps their grief, their loss to feel, like it's validated, it's real, it's important, it's supported, you're loved, you're nurtured, we're thinking of you. Like, I mean, burritos, right? The blanket, I need to know who this person is. Right? It's just like, oh my goodness, like it's like literally stepping into that person's reality and thinking, what do they need the most? What is it that would really, really help right now? And so nourishment, the nourishment of the blanket, the warmth, the nourishment of food, and they're very basic things, but that's a game changer, right? It's just such a game changer.
Yeah, that's very much our mission, was to kind of fill the gap for people who just don't know what to do or say to comfort someone grieving. They currently don't have that many options, right? You just go online and search for something generic, and we really wanted to make something made by grievers for grievers that makes it easy to send something meaningful.
It is, right? And it's made for grievers by grievers. I love that because it's relatable. It's not like, oh, well, I've heard of someone who's experienced this, so we thought maybe we could try this. It's no, this is what touched us. This is what meant the most. And this is what we're working on. I love that. And now, do you ship worldwide? Where are you in the world again? Let's tell our listeners where you are.
We are based in San Diego, California, and currently we ship to North America and select parts of Europe.
Nice. That's amazing. And so people can go onto the website and then just sort of pick what they'd like, and then whoever it's going to be sent to, and it's off. I love that. That's amazing. I remember years ago, people used to always send flowers. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was an aunt or my grandmother. She said, why do I want to see something else die? She said, really? Like, and we were just like, oh, we thought, oh my goodness. Because I mean, after my grandfather had died, they brought all the flowers home. And I remember she sat there and she's like, why do I want to watch them wilt? And just, she said, what a waste of money. And she was just like, this is so ridiculous. Like, the money that we spend for what? He didn't like flowers. And she was just, it was interesting. Right. And so I'm just thinking, in that moment, to be able to give her something here is a special care package for you to remember him. And it's special for you and all of those different memories. And yeah, it's just, I think that that's just so beautiful. I love that. And now, do you have plans for more grief boxes? How is that going to look?
We do. Oh my gosh, we have so many ideas. And I know, Shauna, we've even discussed a celebration, right?
Yeah.
But we have, yes, we have plans for more boxes in the future tailored to more specific groups of people and types of grief and even specific emotions you're experiencing.
Oh, that would be amazing, right? Because I mean, just like we are like the colors of the rainbow, right? Like with the which pillow would you like? Well, I'd like the rainbow, please. I mean, we're like, we're multifaceted. I always tell people we're like multifaceted diamonds. There's so many different aspects to us. And I really love that because I'm thinking of people in my life that have lost loved ones. Like I would love to send them a grief box, and what would that look like, and what would they actually use in the grief box? Like would they write in the journal? What would they do? Would they have tea? You know what I mean? Like I love that you can, there's so many different options. I think that that's just so beautiful and just such a loving gesture, such a loving way to honor the loss and honor those loved ones. And I really love the share the memory. Like it makes me think of how you can put together books. You can take all your pictures and put together books for people. And I love that. I did one of those for someone that lost a baby. I found all their baby pictures and put together a book for them and said, here, this is how I remember her. And she was beautiful and amazing. But just to share the memories. I think that piece often gets lost when we lose someone. It's share the memories, talk about them. Like after I lost my son, it was like after a while people stopped asking. And it was like, I'm still grieving. This is still breaking my heart every day. And it's like they just sort of stop asking. And whereas with a grief box, it's all there. I just love that.
Yeah. And we've heard from a lot of people that they don't want to ask about your deceased loved one. They're worried that by bringing it up, they're reminding you and they're making it worse. And what people don't realize is that we are constantly thinking about Jacob. You are constantly thinking about Jack, and we actually want to talk about it. So by having the memory cards in the box, you can hand them out and invite people to talk about it and share their memories. With the picture frame, you are like invited to display your loved one and show people that like they're still here. It's okay to, talk about them and see them. And it's really kind of rewiring that messaging that like it's okay to talk about the loved one.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And it's just, I often tell people that, like when they find out that, I lost my son, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's fascinating to see the energy shift. It's like people are like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, well, I'm 10 years in, so it's a little bit different for me. But it's, and even 10 years ago, I mean, there wasn't, and Brittany and I chatted a little bit about this. I mean, there was not a lot of support. It was like, we don't really talk about it. Okay, you've had this loss. We do the things and it's done. We move on. We don't talk about it anymore. And it was just like, why can't we celebrate them? Why does it have to be so sad? Yes, it's sad, of course, but there's also, I was tell people that, grief and joy coexist, they coincide. There's some moments where I would be so joyful and happy, and then other moments where I would just be crying and I didn't want to talk to anybody. And it's just, I think it's so beautiful to have such a lovely resource. And I love your community as well. I wanted to ask a little bit more about the community that you've created. What does that look like the extra support for families? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we started our community just as an Instagram page documenting kind of the grief feelings that we were experiencing in real time. And what ended up happening is we found a whole community of other people that we could relate to. And we suddenly felt so much less alone. I mean, we are on there, we're receiving messages, chatting back and forth, connecting with people who have lost all types of family members, friends, and just really learning so much about loss and supporting each other. And it's the most beautiful group of people that we're surrounded with. The community has been a game changer in terms of navigating grief and feeling less alone.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It's I always tell people, the work that I do is just creating a safe place for someone's heart to land.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you don't have to do anything. You can just come and be and bring your grief, your loss, your loved one, just bring them and just be in that space. And, there's something about, again, it's really for grievers from grievers, right? Like, it's that is so powerful, because you know exactly what that feels like. And it's, I have to tell people, losing a child is not something I woke up and thought, hey, maybe I'd like to experience that. No, it's not anything that anyone can prepare you for. And so to be able to have that experience and look back and think, this really mattered, this really worked, this really helped. I'd love to give that to other people, to help them to navigate that, and help the myriad of different emotions that come up, and everything that goes with that. And now with the community, where else do you see that going with your work as it continues?
Well, we would love to start some grief support groups, some smaller groups. We have plans in the future to actually hold grief retreats and invite grievers to come to a place and gather together and heal together, create those lifelong connections. So we're very excited about growing our community.
I love that. I think it's so beautiful, and it's so needed. It's so needed. There was I can't remember what they're called. I think it's called a Molly doll. There are several organizations that I work with that support mothers who have lost children. And I believe it's called the Molly doll, but it's like a bear, and they will put weights in the bear that are the weight of the baby, the child that was lost. And so then the mom has this bear that weighs the same, and she can hold that baby, that bear. You know what I mean? Like just little things like that just make such a difference to someone. Like it's like you were saying earlier, it's not, oh, sorry for your loss, this happened, that happened. I mean, burritos, damn, the blanket, she's good. Yep. I gotta know who she is. No, I'm just kidding. I think
shout out to Miss Lisa.
All right, Miss Lisa, you da bomb, right? Like I just think that is just so, it's like it's above and beyond. Like when there is loss, it's like people want to do just, what is the bare minimum? Like what can I throw at this to make it not be in my reality anymore? And it's like, no, like just to really think about that. Like that's absolutely beautiful. I love that. And what else would you like to share with our listeners about Griefbox, about grief, about your journey?
Well, another thing we would like to do is to make sure that we connect with the person that received a box again, like in 3 months, 6 months, a year, or the person that sent the box, to send them a message to say, hey, would you like to send a card? Reminding them that the person you sent the grief box to is still grieving.
Yes.
Just creating an educational process here where helping people. We want to help people be a good friend, understanding friend, where, they say, I don't know what to say. We want to help you.
I love that, and that is so, so important. I mean, 6 months, a year later, 2 years later, hey, how are you? Just thinking of you, thinking of your loss. Is there anything
later, like you? Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny. I remember after losing Jack, I went to my doctor, and she was like, so do you want do you want an antidepressant, or maybe you should go talk to somebody? And I remember sitting there thinking, that's it. Like, no, I don't want to go talk to somebody, and no, I don't want to take anything. I mean, if I need to, okay. But I was like, that's it. Like there was no, and I remember going, and I remember I bought this stuffed animal. I was out one day, not wearing mascara. I was out one day, and I saw this bear, and I froze. And I looked at it, and it made me think of Jack, and I bought it, and I was like, I would hold it. It was on the nightstand. It was kind of all around the house. Like that was, yeah. And it was interesting because I found a way to soothe myself. And so I love that you have so many different options for people to help them to soothe, and whatever that needs, whether it's having tea, whether it's writing in a journal, as a young child. I mean, adults, we don't handle grief very well. And then we look at little people, it's like, okay, what are you feeling? What does that look like? So to be able to give them comfort with the blanket, and they can journal, they can draw, they can play, they've got the pillow. It's just, I think that it's just so beautiful. And I'm so excited to see what else you create and to see your community grow. And I think that, you know, support groups and to have retreats, I think will be absolutely amazing. Something with surfing, I imagine, right? Like something, right? Bring your surfboards. We're just going to go and we'll surf. We'll do our thing, right? Like, I think that this is just such a beautiful, beautiful legacy for Jacob. And it's, you know, I feel his essence, like with everything that you've done and everything that you've put together. I can just feel the essence and the love from your family. It's so very special, so very special. And now where can people find you? Would you share where can we find you? Instagram, website?
Yep. So we have a website. It's grief-box.com. And we're on Instagram. Our username is @shopgriefbox. And on TikTok, we are Griefbox.
Right. You're on TikTok now. That's very exciting. That's very exciting. I found you. Yes, I found you.
Yes, we follow you. We watch your videos.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, TikTok is its own world, isn't it? It's fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing, Jacob. Thank you for sharing your story and the grief boxes. And for everyone listening, I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful way to honor the loss of a loved one. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.